When dealing with 3D, we have to think about things in the z-axis, which is near and far, right? So we have x, which is left, right. We have y, which is up, down, and z, which is near and far. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I have these two bike wheels here. I'm going to put these in 3D space. So we have the switches here from the switches and modes. Here are the blend modes, right? And here are the switches. And it's this last area, this box here, and this makes it in 3D. Great, so a couple of things happen when you select it. First thing is we get these arrows here that tell us where X, Y, and Z are, which are helpful. And if we twirl open, we have something called material options, which allows us to cast shadows and emit light and things like that, accept light. We're not covering this right now, but what we are covering here is under the transformation, where we have now a z-axis on anchor point and on position scale. We have a new area called orientation, and we have x, y, and z rotation, right? So what's going on is that the orientation and the x, y, z rotation are essentially the same thing, right? Whereas we have x rotation, right, just like this, right? Here's the x, same thing, right? We have y rotation, y orientation, and we have z, which is the standard rotation we're used to, and here is z with orientation. Okay, so what the difference is when it comes to animation. I actually shrink this thing up really small to 2 seconds is what I'm going to have, a 2-second timeline here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate orientation on the top, and on this guy right here, the one to the left, I am going to animate the X, Y, and Z rotation. Okay, so by the time we get to, I'm going to do 1 second, 20 frames here, right? I am going to say the orientation we set for 200 for each one of these, 200, 200. Okay, so we have rotation there, and what I'm going to do on this rotation is set it to 200. Do the same coordinates, 200 and 200. Okay, so they end up roughly the same. They may look a little bit different because of the active camera, but they are rotating the same. Now, what we are doing here is we're going to watch the rotation. And as you can see, right, this right here that we're looking at is the one animated with the orientation. So as you can see, the rotation actually does full rotation, while the orientation moves as little as possible to get to that coordinates. So at different types of animation, you may just want a little bit of a move to get to the right place, in which case you have the orientation, or if it goes all the way around to the full rotation, those would be the rotation points. Generally speaking, most of the time when you're wanting to do rotation, you're wanting to do the full rotation.